In St. Paul. We're here to talk with Helen Healy, who is at Wellspring Clinic. She's going to talk to us today about naturopathy. We're really excited to have this conversation and let our viewers know really what naturopathy is all about. And some people say naturopathy, and we have just learned that a lot of people are now saying naturopathy. And there's a great reason for that, is that this practice is really founded on nature and how nature works.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and why a client would come to you?
Sure. Well, what I guess you'd say, to define my practice, it's a family practice. And I guess what sets it apart from a typical family practitioner is that when people come here, they pretty much can expect that I'm not going to be just writing a prescription for drugs, but that I will actually be counseling them on lifestyle choices, that I probably will prescribe herbs, sometimes homeopathics, different supplements to help support their body's innate ability to heal.
You know, when we've talked before, you've mentioned what naturopaths do as being sort of doctors before electricity, which I think is such a great way to explain it. Can you tell us really what the scope of your practice is? What kinds of things do you do?
Yeah. Well, often, again, just thought about that when I was a student, and I would just marvel at how, you know, different naturopaths and different guest speakers would come in and talk about the different ways that they could help people. And it was so low tech, and yet it was so effective. And so for me, especially when I had learned about obstetrics, and again, where I was in Oregon, we couldn't graduate from school or get our license to practice naturopathy until we had delivered a certain number of babies at home. I would just marvel at how some of these doctors who were trained in the 1930s and 40s, the skill that they had, and the way that they would know, you know, when they would feel the sutures on the baby's head, or just know the position, that they could ask the woman, say, move in this position, get like this, do like this, breathe like this, stay here for 10 contractions, move here. And inevitably, we'd have these beautiful births with no tearing, healthy baby. It was just amazing. And it's just this notion of, if you understand how it's meant to be, then if you know your biochemistry, and you know, A, B, and C, then you can always kind of pull out of your tool bag, what is the herb the woman needs right now? Where do I need to massage her, or what are the pressure points she needs now? That there's so many nice ways you can do all this without one machine. If I could give maybe another example, let's say sexually transmitted diseases, all right? And one that most people know about is HPV, not HIV, but the human papillomavirus. Okay. And it's, I guess you'd say, so typically spread through sexual intercourse. Oftentimes, the men don't really suffer from it as much as the women, because when that virus is aggressive, it can cause cervical cancer. If the cervical cancer is aggressive, it can lead to a metastatic cancer and kill a woman. So a conventional way to treat that is a LEEP procedure, or freezing or burning, or a naturopathic approach to this would be actually more like a chemical peel, where we actually mix zinc chloride and sanguinaria, which is bloodroot, and it's a little caustic, so you don't want to get it in your eyes or anything, but for just a minute or so, it's painted onto the woman's cervix, and then it's washed off using another herb called calendula, which is very healing. But what it does is it causes a peeling reaction, and so very gently, again, if the cervix is a contour rounded, it maintains the proper contour and the cell, so that if the woman wants to get pregnant again, she doesn't have to worry that she'll have an incompetent cervix. But naturopaths don't stop there. We also explain to the woman, you need to boost your immune system to get, so that as we're healing from the outside in, you need to heal from the inside out. So again, we suggest a list of supplements to bolster the immune system, and also some herbs to take for the same reason, and to get that immune system stronger, so the next time it sees that virus, it prevails and not the virus. And so then at the end of several treatments, when a woman goes back in to get her pap smear or her colposcopy or biopsy, sure enough, it's clear, and it stays clear.
Can you tell us a little bit about herbs and how they work?
So herbs are plants. They're, with their own vital force. They live and breathe in their own way, and they contain many constituents that help them do their photosynthesis and defend themselves and whatnot. So when we, as humans or animals, ingest them, we get a lot of that same medicine in us. And what is so powerful about herbs, as you know, is they can help every system of our body, from helping the lungs, the digestion, the heart, your vision, your skin, your immune system, your urinary tract, etc. And so they are a part of the planet, and we have evolved with them. And so it's, I have to say, in many ways, it's one of my favorite parts of my toolbox that I can use to help people get better. And having said that, some people are not attracted to that, so that's why it's good I have other tools in my toolbox.
So Helen, I used to study with Helen at the St. Kate's University, and we studied herbology. Helen was the trainer there. And when we were in class, you described herbs as being sophisticated and talked about how they work together, and I would love for you to give us an example of how they do that.
So as I said before, that there are herbs for heart and lungs and urinary bladder and so forth, and again there are probably a million examples of this, but let's say with a urinary tract infection, there are some herbs that can help kill the germs there, but there are also herbs that when you mix it, that you would want them to be in there to soothe the bladder, and and to help the person, and to be somewhat of a diuretic to clear it. You could also pick the example of if someone had a cold, and you'd say, okay, the doctor might have wanted to give them an antibiotic because it was starting to become a bronchitis. So it was maybe becoming clear it wasn't just viral, but maybe some bacteria was involved. Well, if you can use your antibiotics, but you sort of think of them as maybe they'll just kill things. But with herbs, when you're combining them, you can perhaps pick some antibiotic herbs, but again, you can also put in herbs that will help support the lymphatic system. So that way the lymph, as it's moving through, as I would say in the classes, that somebody kills it, but somebody takes away the dead bodies, and then it clears it so that the person isn't left with all this inflammation and congestion, but that you actually help clear that. And then the combinations of things, again, you just keep seeing what else is going on with the person. And so, herbalists often do combine the herbs. And just as in Chinese medicine, you combine the herbs. So you support the person, kind of all the way through as they work in that. And it turns out, too, that herbs that are good for the heart don't just, like many cardiac drugs, will force the heart to do something, but the herbs are actually nutrition for the heart. So they don't just force the heart to do something, but they actually give the heart nutrition. So because it's a muscle.
So that it can do what it needs to do.
So that it can do it. Yeah, it's not forced to do it.
So what are some of the other tools that you work with?
I do use some homeopathy. In general, what homeopathics are, they're agents, again, from our planet, if you know what I mean. So some of them are plants, some of them are animal venoms, or even minerals that have been ground up or diluted. And then in homeopathy, you don't just dilute it a little bit, you do a specified type of dilution. In fact, last night I made just a little house call and ran out to someone's house to deliver about 5 different remedies. Her son was having an earache, and I said, it'd be a good idea when you've got 2 children in the house to have certain remedies at the ready, so that at the first sign of the child's discomfort, you can give something non-toxic. Aconite is, and it is from a plant, Aconite napellus, or monk's hood. It actually is a good herb for fear and apprehension, and the first sign of any type of fever, earache, sore throat, like just sudden onset. And so you can often catch something at the first sign, if a child can't speak for themselves very well, but they do seem apprehensive, agitated, you can say, as a parent, you can say something's up, and you can administer that remedy. Belladonna is for when it's really really kind of becoming over the top. But it's amazing that even homeopathic remedies can help turn that around quickly, even from that point of excruciating pain when the child is running a fever. For parents who, or even adults whose ear might be that way, but they've had trouble with antibiotics, it's actually kind of nice to know that the belladonna exists.
Can you tell us a little bit about how homeopathy works?
I guess the best example or explanation I ever heard was just to say, you know when Einstein said E equals mc squared? So energy equals matter. So, you know, sped up to that speed of light, right? So times the speed of light squared. That something happens, just as in right now, I look at you, you know, to my eyes I see matter. But really, if we could get deeper and deeper into you, you are mostly energy, right? The bonds in between all your atoms, there's mostly energy in between you. And so it's kind of an interesting phenomenon to think you can take something and basically play with it enough that you start getting to the other side of that equation and you're into the energy of that plant. So when that moves into somebody, then what happens is the body responds and it says, oh, I get it. So if I went back to that aconite example, if you went out in nature and you grabbed that monk's hood plant and you just started chewing on it, give it some time and you would start to feel bad. You'd feel agitated. You'd be afraid for your life. You'd be thinking you were going to die. You'd have that horrible feeling. And that's what it is. It takes, so when that body recognizes, oh, it's that feeling. Oh, I know what to do about that. And then it reacts to it. And that's what speeds your body, your vital force, toward health.
So it takes something that, if you are feeling agitated, a homeopathic remedy would recommend that you take something that makes you agitated in nature and at a very diluted state. So it's almost like an allergy. It's sort of like an allergy shot where they inject you with what you're allergic to in order to develop an immunization to it. It's
interesting you say that because a lot of people think that actually modern day allergy medicine is based on homeopathic principles of diluting something to give it back to neutralize the reaction. In the old days, the naturopaths and even the homeopaths would say, you cannot give a person a drop of a homeopathic and expect it to clean everything up. Just as you could not put a drop of a homeopathic in a sewer and suddenly the sewer's clean. That the notion is you really do have to look at a person and look at their situation and talk to them, what's happening mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and see where the blockages to cure are, and then remove those blockages, or as we would say, remove the obstacles to cure. Get them out of there. That's a little bit more of the whole naturopathy part of getting to the cause of the problem. You can't just keep, putting a sock in it, if you know what I mean. You can't gag the pain. You have to find out, why is the body screaming? What's going on?
Wow. And so how do you do that? What kinds of tools do you use in order to determine, what is making the body scream?
Yeah. Well, I'd say first thing, your tool are your ears. Just listening to somebody and really giving them a chance to talk about what's been happening. I can give you an example.
Sure, that'd be great.
Once upon a time, a woman came in and she had a lot of chest pain, and she had gone to, the cardiologist and the neurologist and everything like that. And as I kind of questioned her more and more, I kind of realized she had adjusted her treadmill funny, and she was holding her hands in a really awkward place and making herself do all this work. And so I said, oh, I think you have a rib out. And so we learned manipulation. So I did just a very simple adjustment in her thoracics, and it just sort of popped something back into place, and she was fine. So, but I'm sure that all sorts of naturopaths would have similar stories of things where just something pretty simple got overlooked. Like the person who had migraines